Welcome back, citizens of Tamriel and potentially new recruits. I'm Cal, and today I'm going to be sharing my new character checklist with you all. In general, I always advocate for learning as you go and just having fun with that new character. But it's been about 4 years since we had a new class in ESO, and I figured some of you out there might be a little rusty, just like me. Or perhaps this expansion has got you interested in ESO for the first time. So here's my quick 7-step checklist to make sure you unlock key skill lines and get your journey across Tamriel started off on the right foot. Now, right out of the gate after character creation, ESO does give you the option to skip the tutorial. But even for veteran players, I think it's actually worth playing through. It's relatively quick, it allows you to pick your starting zone afterwards, and you can easily pick up a full set of each armor type as well as your favorite weapon. Now, before diving into the actual content of the tutorial, don't forget to check your key bindings. This is something I forget to do almost every time. So these are not universal. Even if you set them up on another character, you're going to have to redo them for each new character. I think there's an add-on that solves that, but for many of you out there, that's not going to be an option. Now, personally, I prefer to actually swap out my left and right movement keys, as well as all of my combat keys. Next, it's worth taking a moment to consider a few of the game settings. So under gameplay, I actually like to enable Prevent Attacking Innocents. I also change Quick Cast Ground abilities to On, and then I also enable Auto Loot stolen items, and Prevent Stealing placed items. Now, I do have many criminal characters, but for a new character, I like to sort of make it easy on myself, make sure that I'm not accidentally breaking the law and racking up a big bounty. So overall, these gameplay settings will save you some clicks while playing, and keep you from accidentally getting that bounty while you get acquainted with the game or a new character. So once you're ready to start your life of crime, you can always toggle them back on. Now, I personally like to play with nameplates on, but it's by no means necessary. And finally, before we jump into it, I make some adjustments in the combat settings to keep more of the HUD up at all times. Although for recording, I don't always do that. But for general gameplay, I do like to be able to see all of my ability bar and health bars all the time. Now, there are a lot of tweaks that you can make here, but nothing critical to adjust out of the gate. All right. That was actually more settings tweaking than I was planning on getting into. Let's get into the game. All right, next up, choosing your weapon and combat. One of the reasons I like going through the tutorial is that you'll get to select your preferred weapon right out of the gate. You can also take extra weapons if you want. You'll be able to unlock the associated skill lines by killing just a single enemy while having the appropriate weapon equipped. At level 15, you'll unlock that back bar, that second skill bar, which will allow you to swap to an alternate second weapon and set of skills. So it's not a bad idea to go ahead and pick up a couple extra weapons and unlock those skill lines, just so you don't run into a situation at level 15 where you have to go hunt down the weapon that you need to unlock that skill line. You'll also see me looting these urns as we run through the tutorial. It's not a bad idea to do so. You'll get lockpicks, some vendor trash, maybe even an armor or a recipe or two. It's nothing too special, but it is still somewhat useful. It's going to mean that you are not totally broke when you get out of the tutorial. You might actually have a couple pieces of green gear, which is nice. And if you play like me, you're definitely going to want those lockpicks. Now, I won't do a deep dive on ESO combat in today's video, but you should try to start getting comfortable with weaving light attacks in between your skills. Dealing good damage in ESO relies on your ability to weave these attacks together consistently. Nothing you're facing today, or even tomorrow, will require top-tier damage, but it's good to start practicing early. Also, keep in mind the other combat mechanics this tutorial teaches. A well-timed interrupt or block can mean the difference between success and defeat down the road. Next, let's talk about leveling up and leveling those class skill lines. After you defeat the training dummy in the tutorial, you should gain your first level, as well as your first attribute point and skill point. If you're planning to create a Magicka-based character, all of your attribute points should go into Magicka. Conversely, if you're planning to go stamina, all your points should go into stamina. Of course, if you're planning to tank, then they should all go into health. At this point in the game's life, it's rarely ideal to split your attributes. I'm going stamina on this new character, so that's where I'll be putting all of my attribute points. You'll get a free attribute point respec later on, so don't overthink it. Next, you need to decide where to put that first skill point. If you open up your skills, you should have unlocked a weapon skill line by now, as well as your 3 class skill lines. Since your weapon skill will level up without purchasing or using any skills related to it, it's actually advisable to put your first 3 skill points into the 3 class skill lines. You'll need to actually equip the skills that you unlock with those skill points in order to begin leveling these class skills up. So even if you aren't planning to use any active skills from one of your class lines, you'll still benefit from the passives. So it should be a top priority to level these skill lines up as you level your character. Now for Arcanist, this is all new to me, but Herald of the Tome is your DPS focused skill line, Soldier of Apocrypha appears to be the tank line, and Curative Rune Forms is the healing line. So make sure to grab and equip the first skill in each line as you level up. I tend to start with the damage dealing line since we really only need to worry about damage for the first couple of levels. Alright, unlocking the armor skill lines. And this is another reason that I like going through the tutorial. Shortly after you get that first level, the game will encourage you to sneak past this Golem Invoker. But I kill it. This will clear the way for you to lockpick this bonus room and get some gear. Inside, you'll find a full armory. The gear is almost worthless, although it can be deconstructed for a bit of crafting XP later on. You should use it to quickly unlock the 3 armor skill lines, though, by equipping 3 pieces from each set. 3 light, 3 medium, 3 heavy. While there are many combinations of gear that work for the in-game, and theory crafters have come up with some pretty wild combos, for leveling, you'll ideally want to wear 5 of the weight that most benefits your archetype, and 1 each from the other 2. So for Magicka users, that's typically a heavy chest, medium leggings, and then light armor for everything else. For stamina users, that's typically a heavy chest, light belt, and then medium for everything else. And for tanks, that's probably going to be a light belt, medium gloves or boots, I think, and then heavy for the rest. Once you unlock the skill lines, you only need to be wearing a single piece of each weight in order to level all 3 skill lines concurrently. Now, if you aren't able to get the hang of lockpicking, don't worry. You'll find plenty of armor before the next big fight in the tutorial. Choosing your destination. You've got one more big fight in the tutorial, and then you should be just about done. Once you enter the Key Rights Gallery, it's time to pick your next destination. In ESO, you can start pretty much anywhere. The content will scale with your character as you level, so no need to play through hundreds of hours of content just to get to the new stuff. Of course, you will need to finish your conversation with Norianwe first, and you'll get another skill point for doing so. The main portal will take you to the latest edition of the game, in our case, the Telvanni Peninsula. This is a good choice if you're a veteran player or if you just want to jump straight into the latest content. If you'd like to experience the story in order, though, there are portals to the traditional starting zones. If you do want to play the story in order and your character is Aldmeri Dominion, then you'll want to head to Kynarthi's Roost. Right next door, Stros Makai for the Daggerfall Covenant, and then I think just on the other side of the hall is the portal to Bleakrock Isle for the Ebonheart Pact. Of course, you've got portals to each of the major chapters, and there's not really any downside to just going with your favorite. The Telvanni Peninsula will probably be the busiest locale for the next year, so let's head there for today and unlock a couple more skill lines. Quick note, by completing the tutorial, you will have also unlocked the Soul Magic skill line. It's a pretty niche one, and most players don't really bother with it, so I recommend ignoring it for today. Okay, time to join the Fighters Guild and the Mages Guild. At this point, you'll have gained a few levels in each of your unlocked skill lines, and you should be near the quest starter for the main story quest of your selected chapter. I won't spoil any storylines here, but it is always worth completing the MSQ. It will help lead you through the chapter zone, it grants skill points, and you'll often unlock some cool collectibles. For the purposes of this video, though, we're going to head directly to Necrom in search of the Fighters Guild and Mages Guild. Now, this is a little bit different if you chose to go with one of the 3 traditional starting zones, as I don't believe those have full-fledged Mages Guilds or Fighters Guilds. As soon as you complete the Starter Island quest, it'll drop you off in a city that has proper Mages Guilds and Fighters Guilds. So, like every chapter hub city in ESO though, Necrom does have an HQ for both. You can unlock the associated skill lines by simply completing the intro quest dialogue. This takes seconds. Oh, and look at that, a Fighters Guild handbill helping to show us the way. This is less important for the Mages Guild since you level it up by reading special lore books that are scattered throughout the world, and that XP will be applied retroactively. So if you go and read all these books and then unlock the Mages Guild, you will actually jump to level 4, 5, 6, or whatever. But the Fighters Guild levels up by killing Daedra and Undead, and that is not retroactive. So I always recommend unlocking these skill lines straight away to make sure that you are leveling up as you go. So the last thing that you should do with your first hour of ESO is unlock your first home. That's right, it's never too early to get started on the true in-game. There are 9 in-rooms in ESO now with Necrom, and each character you create can unlock one for free. If you'd rather not make 8 additional characters, you can actually unlock all the others for a small amount of gold as well. I do recommend collecting all of them, and if you're interested in doing so, you should check out my guide for that next. But for today's video, let's go ahead and unlock Journeys in Lodgings. In many cities, you'll see a breadcrumb quest out in the city that leads you to the inn, but since we're already here, we just need to talk to Philande. After chatting with her, she should offer you the inn room for free, and you just need to accept. Now, housing is primarily for decoration, but having a home in a chapter hub is also extremely useful. You can recall to any home you own for free from almost anywhere in the world. So it's definitely my recommendation to go ahead and unlock the local inn room wherever you plan to start your ESO journey. This will ensure that you can always get back to town in a pinch without having to pay any wayshrine fee. I hope you all found today's video useful. This isn't a comprehensive guide by any means, but if you complete this quick checklist, you'll start your ESO adventure in good shape and set yourself up for future success. Next week, I'm planning to share some of my favorite must-have add-ons for ESO, or maybe I'll finish decorating that next house. We'll see. Either way, be sure to subscribe for more ESO content. Thank you all for watching, and thanks to everyone out there for supporting my channel, especially my patrons. If you'd like to support the channel directly and gain access to some bonus content, be sure to click the link on screen now. Alright everyone, I'm going to call it there. I'll see you for the next one. Bye for now, everybody.